learn, and play in this community. Help us to be an unfailing light set upon a hill, all for your honor and glory. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic.
Carrie Hodge, Ward 1.
Here.
Jay Stepp, Ward 2.
Here. Let me know if there's any additions or corrections that need to be made to that. If there are none, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve, Mayor.
Second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved unanimously. We have an appointment to the Historic Preservation Commission. Mr. Menino, if you'll get us started with that, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The terms of two of our members of the Historic Preservation Commission are expiring in September. Larry Gregory, he has agreed to continue to serve, and Denise Archer's term is also expiring, and Becky Carr will be taking her place.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Simply a comment that Ms. Archer has served on this board since its inception.
She was the original member of the
and,
HPC.
has served the city both as the chairman of that organization and as a board member with distinction, and we'll honor her at a later city council meeting. We certainly thank her for her contributions to the city through her work with the HPC. So, other than that, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. While we're in the business of honoring folks for contributions, we've got an organization here tonight, the Talatuna Community Action Partnership, and speaking on behalf of the organization is their Executive Director, Mr. Scott Gray. Welcome, and if you would please state your name, and I just said your name, but if you would state your name and your address for our clerk, please.
My name is Scott Gray. I'm the Executive Director of Talatuna Community Action. Our address is 222 South Irwin. That is Cartersville, Georgia. 30120.
Gotcha.
I think. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members, for having us here today. This is a monumentous year for us. We're celebrating 50 years of being a community action organization. We serve pretty much all of Northwest Georgia. Our headquarters is here in Cartersville. We have about 200 employees. We run the Head Start program. If you've heard of Head Start, we run the weatherization programs here, and we run our low-income energy assistance program, which is providing folks and helping folks with their heating bills in the winter. And so we've been around 50 years, have served about 500,000 families in that time. We've done quite a bit of our work in Cartersville, and I'm going to leave you all a scorecard because we like to show what we're doing in each county. But for Head Start right now, just last year, we enrolled about 100 kids in our Head Start program. The average daily attendance, and this is a pre-K program, the average attendance is about 85%. We had 67,000 hours of volunteer time just here in Cartersville. We always have a waiting list of over 100 kids wanting to enroll. And 85% of our kids are proficient and ready to go into kindergarten. We also run a CSBG program, which is helping folks in job help and training, support, housing assistance. Here in Cartersville last year, we got 81 folks employed. We had 5 folks achieve a GED or ABE. We had 25 folks achieve some type of post-secondary or certificate training just here in Cartersville. For our LIHEAP program, which is our largest program supporting folks and subsidizing their heating bills, we served 2,000 families this past year and spent almost $670,000 just in Cartersville. And so we think that we've made some really substantial accomplishments for our families over the past 50 years, and we continue to strive for excellence, really not necessarily about a handout, but a hand up. And so we appreciate, Mr. Mayor and council members, the support of being here in Cartersville. We'll continue to do our work. We hope that at some point that we start to make a real dent in the issues of poverty here. Across Northwest Georgia, we see about 25% higher in a number of our counties, and so we still have some work to do and look forward to your support in the future. I brought a few of our board members today. Mr. Melford Glass is our chair. He represents Haralson County. Nisi Howard represents Floyd County. Martha Davis represents Floyd County. And Marcy Aguilar represents Gordon County and BB&T Bank. And then Miss Mary, who you probably all know and love, is our youngest but most distinguished board member from Bartow County. And so we are what we call a tripartite board. Most of our board members, if not all of our board members, are representing a community, the 8-county area that we serve. And in a lot of cases, we have low-income individuals that participate in our programs. They participate on our board as well. And so we have about a 20-member board and a policy council of families that help lead our Head Start programming. And so we really believe in community folks being a part of shaping. Talatuna is about a $13 million organization. Like I said, we employ 200 folks across 8 counties, but we have the community at heart for sure. So thank you for your time. I'll leave you with a scorecard, and I don't know if one of my board members has anything to say, if I didn't cover anything.
Covered it all.
Wow. Wow, that's first for everything.
There you go.
So thank you.
Thank you. I have a proclamation here that says, may touch on some of the things you said, but I think it also has some other items on here. Here it says, whereas Talatuna Community Action Partnership, or CAP, was formed in 1967 along with other community action agencies across the country to root out the causes of poverty. Talatuna has grown from serving 2 counties to 8 and has expanded their programs and services to meet the needs of those in rural as well as metropolitan areas. Bartow County and 7 other counties served by Talatuna include approximately 1.3 million people with more than 150,000 living in poverty, many of whom are children, aged, and or disabled. Talatuna's mission is to assist low-income individuals and families to acquire useful skills and knowledge to gain new opportunities and to achieve self-sufficiency. Whereas their guidance through education, career pathways, job training, and life skills development provides families the tools to succeed in life and empowers them to achieve economic independence and security. Now, therefore, I, Matthew J. Santini, Mayor of the City of Cartersville, do hereby recognize the Talatuna Community Action Partnership for 50 years of service and urge all my fellow citizens to join me in expressing appreciation for the services provided in individuals and families in our community and surrounding counties. I'll be honored to come down and present this to you, and if your board wants to join you as well,
Thank
share
you.
a picture.
Something like that. It does.
Yes, thank you. That's awesome.
All right. We have a first reading of an ordinance this evening, and Mr. Lovell, if you'll, will get us started on that, please.
Yes, Mayor, you have 2 ordinances which basically are amending the city's alcohol code to allow for package and pouring sales by breweries and brew pubs pursuant to recently adopted state law. They are recommended by staff for your approval, and later in the year, we'll probably have some more ordinances related to this matter.
Okay. And so it says first reading of ordinances, there's actually 2 ordinances included here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you pretty much gave us the lowdown on those. We'll vote on these. Are there any questions about what we're undertaking? Obviously, the ordinances are included in your packet and spelled out. If there's any questions, we could address them now. If not, we'll move forward and look to approve this, or look to take this up for final consideration at our meeting on August the 17th, I believe is the date of that. No, it's not. This is August, September. Yeah, that'll be October or September or something.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there we go. I'm reading back here. If I'd put these glasses on, things would probably go a lot better. All right, let's move forward. Carter Street property to Bartow County. Mr. Grove.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is a piece of property. The city schools had previously, I think it was in a property swap, some kind of a swap, given the old Douglas Street School property to the county. And this is a parcel on Carter Street. You see a little cutout there that
Rebecca, can you
for some
full
reason
screen
was
that, please?
overlooked. It's at track 2, I think is what we're looking at. So anyway, all this does is go ahead and do what we should have done in the first place.
So can you give me a little bit of history for just a minute? When was the property supposed to have gone to the county?
Years ago, probably more than 15 years.
It was in the early,
It was
late 90s.
yeah, it was quite a while ago.
Yeah, late 90s is when the transfer was made. And for whatever reason, as you can see by that, this one little track was left off the
So a little
conveyance.
cutout down on Carter.
Yeah.
No,
And
not up there, over there.
So Keith, it wasn't the 1869 courthouse swap, it wasn't that?
no,
No,
Okay.
no.
it's a little,
I-
scoot it on up.
I believe it had something to do with the school system, and they were
Third.
swapping or trading something off with the county.
Yeah, it was.
And that's what the trade was. Unfortunately, I don't remember the details.
I don't either. All this does is clean that up.
Yep, so, I mean, essentially what we're looking at right here is just essentially a clerical or whatever, a processing
Right.
oversight from years ago that we're just trying to clean up right
And if there's a problem with the above-ground fueling, then I suggest we take that up with the county. It doesn't really have anything to do with this. This is their problem.
Okay.
now. Gotcha. Any other discussion or questions? If there are not, then a motion would be in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, I think. Mr. Grove, the next item too, please.
Right. This is the deeding of the property at 16 South Irwin. I refer to it as the hole in the wall. I don't know what the rest of you call it, but it's that parcel down here that doesn't have a building in it next to the yoga center. Part of council's goals for the last couple of years has been to look at redevelopment. We've set up land bank, and that's a body that can aggregate property and then dispose of it more with more flexibility and easier than the council can. So the first step in allowing that property to be redeveloped is to have the city deed it to the land bank, and then the land bank will take proposals on the reuse and pick a contractor or individual to contract with to redevelop that property. This is the first step on it. If this is successful, then maybe we can tie some funding to some other parcels of property and do away with dilapidated structures and redevelop some properties.
Everybody know which property you're talking about?
I don't know.
It's
Down next to the yoga center with the chain link on the, you know what I'm talking, down here.
on
down
Irwin
here.
Street.
Or Irwin Street, right down here, the block.
Yeah.
Used to be Ron Womack's law office years
Yeah,
ago.
Yeah.
Not Womack,
I don't know if I remember there ever being
All I know is the chain link fence in front of it, yeah.
All right, is there any discussion on this item? And if not, a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Hampton, come on forward.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This item is basically about getting a contract signed to sell a 1993 model line truck that we've been using for a very long time. It was already approved to go to surplus on July 20th at a council meeting. We tried to move this vehicle to another department, but nobody else had a need for it, so we are requesting approval or signature on this contract to let J.J. Kane Auction, that is in Villa Rica, sell it. One more time, okay. They specialize in construction and utility equipment, and we thought maybe we could get a little more money running it through them instead of Gov Deals. So we thought we'd give it a shot and see. Keith's already reviewed the contract and made some suggested changes that have been made, and that's pretty much it. We just request that it be signed off on so we can get this thing out of our hands after 24 years.
Since you couldn't pawn it off on any other
Yeah,
departments that are back there.
I mean, I didn't want to put it that way,
but
but Bob specifically said no.
I asked Don if they took fire trucks, but he said they didn't think they did. So. Yeah.
Okay. Questions, comments, or motions? Motion to approve. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Hill.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. We have a agreement, which is a second amendment that's with the Subscribed Regulatory Compliance Service, which is a part of the Municipal Gas Authority. And we're asking y'all to approve this. It's actually a revamp of their fee schedules, and we're going to come out better on this by about $7,000 next year off the way this is set up. It was approved by the attorney's office.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Chief Carter, next item, please, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Bring for you this evening an approved budgeted project for you for possible approval of the agreements for our annual firefighter physicals in compliance with the NFPA standards and also OSHA standards. This is for our annual firefighter fitness physicals, which is a two-phase project that they would go through. The agreement also provides for a physician that will monitor the overall health of the fire department throughout the year. If we have firefighters who go, for example, get injured and have to return to work, he would be involved in that process to make sure that they can safely return and provide the clearance that we need and the direction. This is the same company, SiteMed, that we've been using for approximately the last 6 to 7 years. We did have the company reviewed by the Health and Safety Committee. They recommended that we stay with them. The current price, or the price in this agreement, the physicals is $285 per firefighter. This is an increase of $15 per firefighter. It's the first increase that we've had in approximately 3 years, with a total base price of $20,235 for this annual fitness process. However, we do know that there are 12 individuals that are on the hazmat team that will have to have additional lab work and test, and also there's potential for further cardiac testing if certain markers hit within a line. So we're respectfully requesting an amount up to, but not to exceed, $24,500, requesting authorization for the mayor to sign the agreement. This has been reviewed by Mr. Lovell. He did recommend a change. Those changes have been taking place as he had recommended in the document.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion?
Mayor, I do have a question. Chief, you and I have talked about this a number of times, and now there is a new addition to the insurance for our firefighters. I just see here thyroid and testicular cancers as part of the testing. Is there additional that goes along with the new ruling statement?
No, ma'am, not based on those legislative changes. That's a different thing where it's a presumptive legislation for if firefighters after a particular time contract cancer. And this is more on the preventative side of doing everything we possibly can up front, to make sure. And quite honestly, we have seen a significant reduction in the fire department in the last 5 years with our lost time injuries. So the program is working in improving the health of the department.
The detail on the lab analysis on page 48 is pretty thorough.
I was looking, I just didn't see any precancerous kind of things
I
included in
think
this.
it's typical for what you would find. for
Yeah,
any-
we're doing the typical lab works on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
Particularly in relation to that, what you're discussing is a presumptive legislation, so it's not really necessary here.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, a motion is in order.
So
Motion to
moved.
approve. Second.
Meredith will let you figure all that out. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries
Thank you.
unanimously. Thank you, Chief. Mr. Anderson.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. This is, since we had purchased our new scoreboards for Dellinger Park softball fields and the football field, we were getting ready to sell sponsorships, and Mr. Lovell had to draw up an agreement for this. And so that's what's before you, the agreement for sponsorship, as well as an appendix for a fee schedule. And I'm recommend that City Council approve the agreement and the fee schedule, and also approve the mayor to sign any agreements through the remainder of this year as we sell those sponsorships.
Is this calendar year or fiscal year?
Would be calendar year.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries
Mayor, may I
unanimously.
say something to Mr. Anderson?
Sure.
Thank you. Craig, I was at the park last night when the lights came on in our new buildings, and they really were fantastic. I hadn't seen the underlighting of the bathrooms.
They're
I hadn't
recessed
seen
up
the,
in overhangs, aren't they?
yeah, it was just really terrific. And I just,
Yeah, we've got a lot of compliments on those. Our patrons have been very patient with us, and hopefully we will, we're winding down on the Dellinger Park buildings, and so we're excited about that.
Looking
it,
good.
it really looks good.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
next item, please, Greg.
This is for the purchase of decorative concrete poles for Dellinger Park. We, in 2003, we purchased, I believe it was 26 of these poles that the electric department installed for us. Would like to replace purchase 7 more poles, which is replacing 6 poles and then adding 1 pole to our security lighting system. When we purchased these in 2003, at that time we chose Amron poles, and this is a sole source bid, and I'm recommending the local distributor from Mayer Electric out of Marietta in the amount of $13,225, and this is a budgeted item from the park's maintenance and operation budget.
Okay, any discussion on this? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Reinhardt, you've got the next item, please, and Mr. Porter, you're on deck.
Honorable Mayor and Council, I'm bringing forward tonight, Recreation is needing a prison work van after the last council meeting where the council approved a work van to be purchased by Stormwater. Greg approached me to see if we could use the same bid information from that vendor. Contacted the vendor, Wade Ford. He agreed to let us use the same the same bid price. Therefore, I would like to recommend the purchase price of the vehicle for recreation. The bid price is $31,541, and it includes the extended warranty. This is a budgeted item and will be paid through the GMA lease pool.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Lovell, if you would, just because, again, we had a question in work session about the fact that the city is buying a vehicle for state prisoners. Can you just kind of recap what you had said during the work session, just so the general public that would probably be listening gets kind of a context around why this happens this way?
Yeah, the state prison system has a special program that qualified prisoners who are basically trustees and nonviolent and have earned privileges at the prison are allowed to go on outside work crews. And what the state has done is allowed local governments if they will actually transport these prisoners to and from the prison, will allow them to be on our public work crews, doing road cleanups, painting buildings, cutting grass, and various things like that. They are at all times supervised by a prison guard, and they are in the custody of the state prison at all times. The city's only role in it is to assign the work projects that they do and to actually physically provide the van that transports them to and from.
And these are typically not hardened criminals, but
No, they're all low-risk criminals and people who have actually, through their time in prison, have earned the right to actually participate in these programs.
thank you. I just thought that was important to note while we were doing that. If there's no other discussion, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Porta, as promised, the next two.
Yes, Mayor. The first item is server cabinets. As we've completed the exterior of the new fiber building that's located in the Public Works compound, we're working on the interior, and we need server cabinets to hold our servers and cabling. This cost is $8,280.88. The budget item. I recommend it for approval.
Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Continue on, please, Dan.
The next item is we have two independent carriers that provide internet service. In case one goes down, we're able to complete serving our customers. We need to get a Cisco router that directs this traffic on our fiber system at a cost of $16,985, and I recommend this for your approval as well.
Thank you. Once again, any questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Chief McCann.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. This is a request to purchase an audio-video server. It stores our in-car camera footage and our body camera footage. We got 3 bids, and the low bid is CDWG for $79,3485. And it's a budgeted item. It's going to be paid for with asset forfeiture money.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for Chief on this item?
Mayor, question. Chief, a non-disputed kind of an item you can let go in what length of time?
30 days, but it's not a good idea to do that.
Okay.
We have to, state law says if we make a case, we need to keep it for 30 months. But we usually keep video for longer than 30 days because if an issue arises in the future, we have that footage, for instance, a lawsuit or something like that. So we end up keeping it for a longer period of time, and it's a good practice.
Thank you. I knew the length of time for a dispute, but I wondered non-disputed.
Yeah, like I said, it's just a good practice to keep it in case we need it for the future. And it has come in handy for us.
Thank you. Any other questions? If there are none, a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Continue on, Chief.
Next request is the purchase of 5 patrol vehicles and 2 CID vehicles as replacement vehicles for our fleet. We sent out bids to 8 different companies, and we also put the bids on our website here. We received 3 bids. The low bid was from Robert Laura Dodge for a total of $164,294. 2 of those vehicles are going to be paid for out of insurance funds. The rest of it's going to be paid for out of asset forfeiture money. To equip all the vehicles, it will not exceed $240,000, and we believe that we can equip all 7, including the insurance vehicles, with that money. It is a budgeted item, and it is asset forfeiture money, federal.
Very good. Any discussion? If not, a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief. All right, Mr. Tom, you're back up for the financial report.
Honorable Mayor and Council, tonight we'll be looking at June of 2017 and comparing it to June 2016. Just to let you know, June is our fiscal year end, and also keep in mind that because it is year end, these numbers will be subject to change. These are the unaudited numbers. In the general fund, revenues decreased over last year by $10.5 million. This is because of the school system bond payoff early, and the expenses decreased by nearly $10 million. 3 areas of revenue I look at in the general fund are the local option sales tax, have an increase there from last year of about $134,000, and that number is also above our budgeted number. The police fines and forfeitures have a slight decrease of about $18,000, and building permits and inspection fees are up about $75,000. In the water and sewer fund, revenues increased over last year by $1.7 million. Expenses increased by $488,000. This is due to increased operating expenses, increased debt service expenses, and increased capital expenses. In the gas fund, revenues increased over last year by $2.3 million. Expenses increased by $5.1 million. This is due to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, increased cost of purchased gas, and increased capital expenses. If you remember, back in the month of May, we were needed to make a payment after some information was done and approved and by the Georgia PSC. We had to wire $2.8 million for the beginning of the Transco contract. In the electric fund, and the revenues decreased over last year by $898,000. Expenses decreased by $333,000. This is due mainly to a decreased cost of purchased electricity and decreased capital expenses. Stormwater fund, revenues increased over last year by $52,000. Expenses increased by $113,000. This is due to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, and decreased capital expenses. And in the solid waste fund, revenues decreased from last year by $146,000, and expenses increased by $81,000. This is due to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, and increased capital expenses. And finally, in the fiber optics fund, revenues increased over last year by $33,000. Expenses increased by $60,000, due mainly to increased operating expenses and increased capital expenses.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Might be a good one, might not be. You may not have the answer. If you don't, that's fine. When you look at the general fund and the revenues, you said decreased by $10,540,000. And of course, that's because the school system paid the bond off early.
Yes.
How much does that impact? Is that the amount of the bond, or is that, what is?
The outstanding.
How much, if you were to subtract that out, how would that impact
The outstanding
fund?
bond payment, if I remember right, was somewhere around $9.9 million,
Okay.
roughly, and that's give or take. So if you take that from the $10.5 million, you're looking at roughly $600,000.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have questions for Tom on the finance report?
Just a note, a couple notes. He mentioned that this is the last month of the year. These are cash numbers. They're not audited. For the month, general, water, gas, electric, and fiber were deficit. For the year, all were positive except for gas. And the point that he mentioned about the payment for Transco, which is to get the line in place, $2.8 million, which the council approved in March, pulled that in deficit, and it will pull it into deficit for the year, and it'll be reported on the financials as well. It's no big deal. It's something that we were going to do. We just did it a little earlier than we thought. It did pull the unrestricted cash down a little bit too, but you know, no need for concern. This is something that we knew was going to happen, and we did it, and it's to get us another source of gas to keep the gas prices down.
We could have paid for it last fiscal year or this fiscal
That's
year.
right, that's correct.
It's going to pay it anyway. All right, other questions or comments on the financial report? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
As always. Any other business that needs to come before council this evening? If there's none, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. Wow. Stay going.